All right, so hello and welcome to another episode of Wired for STEM. I'm Tim Conlin and I lead marketing at Snap Circuits. And our conversation today, I really think it's going to be a great one. I really don't think it gets any more relevant than this either. Today, we're going to discuss topics around teaching artificial intelligence to kids. And our guest, Jessie Jiang, is so well suited for this topic. Jessie is the founder and CEO of Create and Learn. It's an award-winning STEM platform with a mission of providing top quality computer science education to students in grades K through 12. Create and Learn has been recognized by Code.org, Minecraft Education, and Roblox Education. It's also been a partner of choice for various initiatives from top programs and companies in the industry, such as like the Scratch Foundation, Bright Horizons, Stride, and Meta, as well as cities, schools, and organizations around the world. And prior to founding Create and Learn, Jessie was a product management director at Google, leading key programs in the Google Cloud platform and infrastructure there. Jessie has a PhD degree in computer science from UCLA, an MBA from Stanford Business School, and she is incredibly passionate about education. And she's consulted for many education programs such as Common Sense Media, the Stanford D School, Tech Museum, Girls Middle School, and the Web AI Task Force. So, Jessie, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Tim. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, fantastic. And what a great topic, huh? Couldn't be any more relevant for sure.
For sure, yeah, definitely. We get asked a lot by parents and teachers about this topic on an almost daily basis, for sure, as well.
Yeah, so it's such a crazy topic right now. It's changing so fast, but maybe we just sort of try to start at the ground floor on what does it mean to teach kids computer vision or AI, and where do you even start today? If you could just give your perspective on a foundation here.
Yeah. Actually, the answer to that question depends a lot on the age of the kids.
Hmm.
At different ages, you definitely want to show them a different type of things. We can go into a little bit more details later on if there's time. But I would say that there's several aspects. One aspect is really kind of help them understand what is AI. Like on their day-to-day life, in their day-to-day lives, there's a lot of AIs around us already, and many of them are just kind of hidden. Everyone knows self-driving cars have AI, but do you know YouTube actually has AI in there, right? So I think there's a lot of just being able to recognize where AI is, and that's important. Another aspect of it is really kind of get a better understanding of how AI works, meaning how it's built. And it's going to help us to be more aware of what's the best way to leverage AI as well. And then the third aspect of it is just learn about all the different tools about AI. ChatGPT obviously is very popular, and many kids are not at the age of ChatGPT yet, but many are, like in upper middle school and high school. That's certainly super important. Last but not least, at least from our perspective, a lot of times we also teach students how to code AI applications. Let's say you can use computer vision to do something really cool, maybe recognizing different kind of protected animals in your area, stuff like that. There's really a lot of different things, and it's getting to a stage where even middle school and high school students can build AI apps like pretty easily with the tools that are out there. So definitely there is a range of it, and depending on the kid's age, you might be going to different levels of details in each of these areas.
Okay. When you say computer vision, are you really saying AI? Are those interchangeable, Jessie?
Um, Computer vision is a big part of the AI, but definitely AI goes much, much more beyond computer vision. So idea of computer vision means that, okay, maybe I should take a step back. AI is referring to, it's actually not an easy way to define what AI is, but typically say that people say AI means the ability of computer science doing things that requires human intelligence. Okay, and then the people's question is immediately is, what is human intelligence? And so then they say, okay, human intelligence means ability to see things, ability to talk like a human, ability to do reasoning, problem solving, learning. So, these are a spectrum of things that are all associated with human intelligence. And then computer vision is really kind of the part that maps to seeing. meaning you and I can see each other. Now we know that computer can recognize, trees and cars and all sort of different things.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's a very, very important aspect of computer artificial intelligence, which is computer
Mhm.
vision.
Mhm.
And obviously things like ChatGPT are getting very popular. That's what we call the language processing aspect of artificial intelligence, meaning AI can converse, talk, just like humans, understand what we're talking about, able to give answers. That's another aspect of it. There are other aspects as well. For instance, AI art. Just a couple of days ago, I think it might even be yesterday, Google launched this a new AI art. I know banana is like an interesting name for it. And that's obviously a huge sort of a dimension of AI as well. I would say that computer vision tends to be the ones that a lot of students start learning about AI because
Mhm.
it has a lot of tools. It's easy for them to build. The concept is pretty clear. It also has been around like say longer than things like language model. It's definitely a choice, a top choice for many teachers when they start introducing students to artificial intelligence and they choose
Mhm.
computer vision to be the area that to go a little deeper.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is so helpful for me. I mean, I think everyone's going to find this incredibly fascinating because AI, computer vision, these are terms people hear. I think AI is synonymous with Gemini or ChatGPT or something like that, but really understanding maybe an inch below the surface, which you've already provided, which is great. And you talked about a few of the tools, Jesse. Do students, in your experience, as you talk to kids at different ages, maybe you can interpret a bit, but do they need to understand any of the technology behind AI that brings us to life? And how do you approach
That's a really good question as well. Because we don't necessarily know how cars are built to drive cars. And it's like, do we really need to know what the technology behind AI to actually use it effectively? Um, my thing is the answer is yes, because once you understand the technology, you don't have to go into like a lot of details. The details of AI would involve huge amount of math and huge amount of coding and other things. But even just understanding it at a conceptual level is going to help us um, leverage it more effectively. Just an analyze example, for instance, I mentioned YouTube earlier, as people would be like, what is AI? Where is AI in YouTube? YouTube use a lot of AI, but the one probably has been around for the longest are the video recommendations. Like
Okay.
when I'm starting to use watching something and, I start to get a lot of similar things. And those artificial intelligence and the fact that we know that AI is based on my browsing pattern, it actually helps because otherwise, if I start looking at videos, we're going to see like it's as if the word only has cat videos. There's nothing else. And I think for people who, if they understand that's how AI works, and well, there's a giant world beyond cat videos that is actually on YouTube. What I'm seeing is just happened to be something that AI carved out for me. I think
Mhm.
that understanding and realization can be very important in a lot of situations. Another aspect of it is like language model, for instance. Um, people knows about hallucination. It was like, I was actually talking to some student earlier, and they said, "Oh, can hallucination be fixed?" And I was like, "Well, at this point, people don't know how to fix it. To some extent, that's just how language model actually even works. It's
Mhm.
built in there." And there's hallucination is easy to say. There may be other reasons, aspect of using AI. It wouldn't at this point, for instance, the base language model wouldn't know the thing happens yesterday. And just because this whole process of training and all that, I said maybe because sometimes they can add additional information on top of that. The point here is again understanding how like language models like ChatGPT get trained help us understand what's the best way to use it. A lot of times, if you want to get information out of it, depending on how you structure the prompt, you can actually get very different quality of things. And the higher quality prompt tends to because the person has a better understanding of how LLM or how the AI works. So yes, unlike, you know, you don't necessarily know need to know like how the car is built to
Hmm.
drive a car. And in the case of AI, knowing how it's built, at least at the conceptual level, actually help us make much better use of this tool.
Okay, really helpful. Thank you for that. And, you can't go any day without seeing this in the news all over the place. The chips that are supplying to make all this possible and,
Yeah,
and all the financial implications. It's amazing, actually.
that's
So, if
true.
we circle back and we get centered a little bit more on students now again, and think about the tools that are available that maybe you use within Create and Learn, or you've seen that out there that are more relevant for maybe the early age or maybe older age, I think people would really relish the opportunity to learn about some different tools that are out.
Yeah. Um, there are so many of them these days. I remember when we first started teaching AI like 7, 8 years ago. By the way, one of the reasons we started I started Create and Learn after Google was because I was hoping to start teaching kids AI and data science type of things. At that time, there were some tools, but not nearly as many. Now there's a tons of them. Even in our own curriculum, for instance, we probably use like 50 different type of tools. So
Wow.
it's really kind of hard to say like there's a single tool. It really depends on what you're trying to do. I would say that get some curriculums first. Like for instance, Code.org has some pretty cool curriculum on AI. They reference a bunch of tools. They have tools that they build themselves. Common Sense Media have some really good curriculum, and they have some tools they use as well, and those are pretty good. There is just an example. One of the tools that the younger kids really like is this thing called a Quick Draw from Google, and it's pretty cool. Which is um, it's almost like the game that people also play, where, you try to draw something and AI tries to guess what you're trying to draw. Like, is it a dog? Or it would say keep saying things, the dog, the pot, a flower, whatever, until it says, "Oh, I know, you're trying to draw a house." I don't know why the dog and house are very similar, but it used computer vision to guess what it is. And the nice thing about that website, it also teach students how these things are being done and how the AI is able to recognize it. I think that's like a really cute one. It's always a hit with the kids, for the younger kids. Another one is very famous. It's called a teachable machine. This also built by Google. I don't know
Yeah.
if you have heard of it. Sounds like you
Yeah,
might.
I've experimented with it. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So you can actually go through the whole process of taking some stuff to train a model and have it, get trained and then recognize it. It can actually even go beyond their website. For, I would say, high school student or even upper middle school student, you could potentially even download that model and then incorporate that model into an app that you have built. So that thing really kind of both great for younger kids. They can just use whatever is on the website, as well as for older kids who wants to build some sort of model themselves and then build an app on top of the model they have. So that's a cool one. And MIT Race an initiative has this playground where it's incorporated a whole bunch of AI features in Scratch coding. So that's super cool as well. It will be able to, basically it has a whole bunch of Scratch blocks and being able to do computer vision, language model processing. So now that they can, Scratch is by far the most popular as far as I know, like at least with our
Mhm.
program. It's for young kids to learn coding. And now they can not only just code based on the foundational Scratch features, but actually add a whole bunch of AI things on top of that as well. And I know that a lot of schools obviously teach Scratch coding already, and the teachers can just kind of add that additional AI element in there also for the student. And I think for high school student, even older ones, there's a lot of things like TensorFlow Playground. TensorFlow is I would say, AI system Google has created. The playground actually lets you play with neural networks and to do all sorts of different things as well. I kind of like that. Another thing which is actually very, in my opinion, very approachable is it's not hard to use Python to call ChatGPT API directly. So this will be a high school thing where instead of just go to ChatGPT or whatever and do the chatbot, then student can use Python to create their own chatbot by calling OpenAI's API. So I think that's a very cool exercise. for high school computer science classes. So not only that they're just consuming it, now they can actually build a chatbot of their own. For instance, in our classes, we build a little chatbot which is you can like a helper at an ice cream shop. So you can tell AI, AI would ask you, say, "What flavors of ice cream do you want?" And then you can tell the ChatGPT, like, you can tell the chatbot what you want, and you say what kind of topping you want, what size you want. So you can have a whole bunch of back and forth, and in the end, it give you the order. So you can do that pretty easy, I would say, with just a few hours of Python work,
Mhm.
and really give them a sense of how AI works and actually use something that people in the industry use as well, even though they're in high school, which is very powerful in my opinion.
It's amazing. It's just fantastic. Jesse, all of this technology around AI, how has it changed or influenced teaching basic coding at a very young age? Will those early blocks of kind of learning for kids who have a natural interest or educators that want to bring this into their classroom, does AI transform this, or does it actually start at the very beginning of, okay, kids, blockly coding, let's learn and drag and drop and put something in order or something like that? Does this transform the game completely, or does the kind of step one stay consistent before you dive into some of these and it's a natural evolution into these tools you're just talking?
That's a really good question. I think there are multiple levels of this. There's a level of using, um, hmm, um, there are multiple levels of it. One is we mentioned about Raise and AI Playground. This is actually built on Scratch. So literally at a young age, the teachers who used to teach students just Scratch can easily go bringing in these plugins from, for instance, MIT Raise to start having students build a Scratch project with computer vision.
Mhm.
So, for instance, one thing it could be like, if you do there's a lot of these kind of silly apps, and if you put if you tilt your head on the left, then your app would do your Scratch app would do certain things because it has computer vision. Or if you tilt it to the right, it would do something else. Or you can kind of move your fingers around in different ways and it would have different kind
Mhm.
of reactions. Those are very approachable even for very young kids. So to some extent, that's not changing fundamentally how coding is taught for younger kids. It just add additional AI features overlaid on top of that. And that particular pattern can actually be carried upward, even all the way to high school, in the sense that by the time students learn about Python or Java in high school, they can similarly add AI features in the applications they're building, whether it's a ChatGPT thing that we're talking about, or maybe computer vision type of things we can talk about. Like, for instance, one of the things we teach students is a bunch of, we take a bunch of images that are long images. Some of them are regular long. Some of them are long images, like X-ray images with pneumonia, and some of them are actually like re-images of people with COVID. And then you can literally build a Python app to distinguish which one is which. But that, to some extent, is the same thing as Scratch, because in the sense that there's a foundational Scratch, and then you add some AI features on top of that. Here you have foundational Python and Java, and then you add it on top. You add some AI features on top of that. Now, there's another dimension, which is this word you heard probably called vibe coding. And if you heard of this word, an idea here is to have AI do most of the coding for you. Now, to have a student, I want to say that to have a student who are still in the learning process of kind of trying to figure out how to code, the
Uh,
idea of vibe coding is very different to have engineers do vibe coding. But we have been teaching students who have Python experiences, some vibe coding as well. We do find it's an extremely powerful tool to kind of amplify the speed of learning for them.
okay.
And instead of once they learn the basic of Python, they can learn the other content a lot faster with help from AI. And we are very, very excited about it. So to some extent, that's where the fundamentals of learning coding has changed.
Okay.
in the
Interesting.
sense that the previously you just add AI features to things you used to build, and this is really about learning coding in very different ways.
Okay.
But it is based on the foundation that they have learned earlier.
Okay, I understand. Right. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And, even for me, like, no idea how to code, no anything. I wanted to develop a web page on our website. I really went to ChatGPT, talked about what I wanted, what resources, and it literally wrote all of this code that I could drag and drop right into my WordPress program and drop it into my website. It was amazing. Truly incredible.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Uh,
I'm glad you've been venturing into doing that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
doing my best to experiment, and I would obviously, I'm sure you do the same, encourage everybody just to try it in some way, shape, or form to understand a little bit. And that
Yeah.
kinda leads into my next question. There's educators out there who have to teach STEM and programs, and they get questions on AI and things. So, can you talk a little bit about professional development opportunities or recommendations, and what resources might exist, for these
Mm,
educators
mm, mm,
to
mm.
upskill on this area?
Yeah. I definitely feel like a lot of the traditional, organization that traditional do a lot of coding, professional development that also do AI professional development as well. Like Code Our World being, definitely being one of them. They have a new curriculum on it. They are running professional development on it. There are
Mhm.
also some new organizations like AIEDU that are doing that as well, and they're specifically dedicated to AI
Okay,
education, CSTA and all that. I would just say that a lot of the wherever you use to find help in terms of getting trained on teaching traditional computer science, most likely you can find help on doing AI as well. Um, we actually have a little tool as well, and if they want to try it out, and it's called Athena.us. Athena is a instead of ATHE, it's AITHENA dot
okay.
US. Literally, it's free, so you can literally go up there and upload your deck, and it's almost like
Cool.
a personalized PD coach, and you can ask questions about the decks and all that. But that's more of a tool set available. But in terms, again, going back, I do think a lot of these organizations that traditionally train teachers for computer science are doing AI as well. And a lot of times, I don't know. So this may not be a problem because vast majority of the teachers I meet also always have a very kind of like they love learning. They're not afraid of the fact that, oh, I may
Mhm.
not know these things well. I actually do think that vast majority of teachers would say, I actually enjoy the process of learning together with with their student to say, this is new. We don't know what's going on. Let's just learn it
Okay.
together. I think that's awesome because AI changes so fast that there's nobody can follow everything happening all the time. I
Yeah.
think like most of the people can't even follow a small percentage of what's happening in AI all the time. It's just like overwhelming amount of things. So every time something happens, it's an opportunity to learn together. I'm sure it's a fun process.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say an accessible learning process as well. So I do want to ask you about, AI comes sometimes with conversation around ethical topics surrounding AI, ethical uses, all of that. How do you handle those questions from parents of your students or just maybe what's going on in the industry areas?
Mm, mm, mm. That's a really good question too. I actually got this question again this morning. I was talking to a group of students in the middle school. Um, those are tough questions. I mean, my suggestion is just kind of acknowledge the students' concern about these things, and I think it's great that they really care about societal impact. And another suggestion I have is to kind of understand the scope of the potential ethical considerations. There are definitely, good number of them. One would be um, AI might be biased because the training data set does not represent is not representative. Now,
Mhm.
the tricky thing is what is defined as representative may even differ from human to human. So I don't think we can be completely have an AI that is unbiased just because human opinions are different.
Mhm.
So that's one aspect. There is the aspect of, the question specifically the kids asked me this morning about environmental impact on the water, electricity.
Right.
As definitely has huge impact as well, and I hope people will pay more attention to it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of the societal impact, like how people around the data centers are affected by these things, and some of them are real, and many of them are real, and then definitely need solutions as well.
Mhm.
And there is also the aspect of how much and what students should be using the ChatGPT type of things. Yeah, I don't feel like anyone, these are all very, very complex ethical issues. Oh, there's one more, which is um, intellectual property, obviously.
Mhm.
Especially with art type of things. Um, and so my thing is just like learn about these things so that you understand what the concerns are, why they're complex, and so if the student do have questions about these things, which I think are great, it means that they're thinking deeper about it and
Mhm.
make it like a meaningful conversation with the student. And it's unlikely that any of these conversations or any of these things would lead to a clear yes and no, let's do
Mhm.
this. Yeah, I think just exposing the complexity of it would help quite a bit.
Yeah, really, really helpful. And to gosh, just such great thoughts and perspective to really crystallize kind of that handful of ethical questions. I know my daughter talks. The first thing that she reacts to of AI is the power usage and the impact on the environment.
Yeah.
Very nice perspective.
Right, yeah, so actually I actually even heard parents telling me that my kids, she's an artist, she refused to use AI art, because it's AI, she felt like it's stealing things. I can feel why she feels that way. I'm not so sure that's the right
Hmm.
answer to this particular situation. I'm not so sure anyone knows what's the right answer at this point. But it is complex, and I think, yeah, I'm at the end of the day, I'm always, you know, glad when I hear student raising these kind of questions because it means they care. So
Okay, and they're thinking about
yeah,
the future for sure. I love it as
yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah.
So Jesse, we're coming up at the end. We could really talk for hours on this, and you have enough knowledge to fill hours and hours and hours, and I can sense your excitement around this area as well. What are a few thoughts you'd leave with teachers and educators about kind of the state and what you're excited about, and what AI can bring to education and to educators to help teach our kids about how to do things in the future?
Mm. Um, there's definitely a lot of like, you cover like a lot of like the most important things already. Um, and I know there are lots of concerns in schools about using AI tools, which I think those concerns are very, very well founded. Um, I also think that AI is by far the most um, useful tools for learning that human has ever invented. Like anyone who can use AI to learn and would be able to do so much better and to learn not to cheat, obviously. And I think cheating part is what the school is concerned about, which I think is well founded. Um, I'm stating something which is like, this is also not to, sort of recognize the fact that cheating is a serious issue that the school needs to deal with. But I want to emphasize again that, everyone needs to recognize this is probably by far the most important learning tool that human has ever invented. Another thing that, again, I'm bringing up this again, just happened because it's only happened like an hour ago. The kids were asking me, what about my careers and all that in the future? And there are a bunch of things that we cannot predict about the future and jobs. But I
Mhm.
would think that the ability to learn new things, the skill of learning is probably going to be the most important constantly used skills that they will need to use when they grow up. And we on the one hand, we have saying the ability to learn is probably one of the most important skills you should have. On the other hand, we're saying AI is probably the most helpful learning tools that have ever been invented. It just feels like these two are very related. We probably should all become a master of learning, with like through the AI tools. So yeah, so I just want to kind of highlight that a bit more, especially from educator perspective, have very, very valid concerns on, AI usage but also recognize that it is a very critical tool for their future careers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Jesse. And maybe we connect after. Would it be okay if I get some of the resources you talked about and I'll put them in the notes of the
Yeah,
show for people
absolutely.
as a resource?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to send you the link. So, if people are interested, they can check them out.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Well, Jesse, a gigantic thanks to you. I just loved having the opportunity to soak up some of these smarts and perspective in your brain. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for all you do. I know Create and Learn is a fantastic organization. I know us at Snap Circuits, we've worked with you and you do classes. I'm teaching basic circuitry and all of that. So really appreciate your time today and sharing your smarts about AI and perspective. So
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me for the opportunity. And, likewise, I love Snap Circuit. My daughter growing up with Snap Circuit when she was a kid. So I was like, yeah,
love it.
always happy to work with you guys.
Thank you again, Jesse. All the best.
All right.
All
Okay.
right. Take care.